The first thing Connor noticed about dying was that it was taking its time, which felt rude. He lay on his back staring at a sky that couldn't decide what color it wanted to be. Violet one second, scorched orange the next, while his combat visor politely informed him that he had suffered catastrophic bodily trauma and would like to rate the experience. Somewhere to his left, something exploded with the exhausted enthusiasm of a firework that regretted its career choices. Connor tried to laugh and manage something closer to a wet cough. 5 tours, 3 medals, one deeply disappointing portrait in the regimental hall, and this was how it ended. Bleeding into alien dirt on a planet that Command had insisted was strategically negligible. His left leg no longer responded to polite requests. His right arm felt like it had been replaced by a sack of hot gravel, and his chest, well, his chest was making concerning noises. The comm unit at his collar blinked patiently. "Sergeant Connor Hale," it said for the 4th time. "Please confirm vital status." "Working on it," Connor whispered. The unit, apparently satisfied, reset its timer. He thought about Earth, which he hadn't seen in 8 years, and about how the recruiters never mentioned that space smelled faintly of burnt metal and bad decisions. His vision tunneled, sounds stretching and thinning like taffy, and just as the universe seemed ready to quietly turn him off, a shadow fell across his face. Connor blinked. The shadow moved against the light in a way that suggested legs, long ones. "Well," a voice said, calm and cultured, "this is inconvenient." Connor tried to focus. The figure sharpened into a woman, tall, slim, wrapped in dark, layered fabric that shimmered faintly with embedded circuitry. She looked human at first glance, painfully human, which made no sense because no human woman had ears like that. They were long, elegant, tapering back through dark hair, like sculpted blades. Her skin was pale, unblemished, her expression composed in a way that felt almost unfair, given the burning wreckage around them. He swallowed. "You, with the ears," he rasped. "Am I hallucinating?" She considered him thoughtfully. "Possibly," she said, "but if you are, your mind has excellent taste." Connor snorted, which was a mistake. Pain flared, stars bursting behind his eyes. "Figures," he muttered. "I die and my brain invents a space elf." "I am Sanguir," the woman replied mildly, "and you are dying." "Yeah," Connor said. "Picked up on that." She crouched beside him with fluid grace, the battlefield noise dimming around her, as if reality itself were being asked to lower its voice. Her eyes, dark, reflective, tracked his injuries with clinical precision. "Your internal bleeding alone will end you in under 4 minutes. The spinal damage shortly after. Your armor's medical systems are doing their best, but they are optimistic." Connor exhaled slowly. "So what? You here to make it official?" "I am here because you are in my path," she said, "and because I have a choice." That got his attention. "Lucky me." She met his gaze. "I can leave you. You will die quickly, and it will not be the worst death I have witnessed this cycle." "Comforting." "Or," she continued unfazed, "I can offer you survival." Connor laughed weakly. "Let me guess. Catch is worse than death." Her lips curved, just slightly. "You adapt quickly." The air around her shifted as she leaned closer, and Connor became aware of a strange sensation. Pressure, like the gravity had increased around her alone. "I am Sanguir," she said again, as if the word carried weight he was supposed to feel. "Our biology is invasive. If I bite you, my venom will rewrite you at the cellular level. Your wounds will close. Your organs will stabilize. You will live." "And," Connor asked, "and you will no longer be human." He stared at her, mind drifting dangerously. "Define, no longer." "You will require blood to survive. Light will discomfort you. Your lifespan will extend beyond your species' norms. You will be bound to my people's laws, and to me as your sire." Connor let that roll around his head. "So, space vampire elf," she sighed. "If you insist on being reductive." The comm unit beeped again. "Sergeant Connor Hale," it said, relentlessly cheerful. "Vital signs critical." Connor glanced at it, then back at her. Can you give me a second? I'm in the middle of a career change. She waited, actually waited, watching him with a patience that felt unsettling. Connor's thoughts scattered. He had always assumed dying would come with a dramatic speech, or at least a meaningful flashback. Instead, he was lying in the dirt negotiating with an alien woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a myth and was offering him eternal night like it was a warranty upgrade. He felt cold creeping in, his fingers numb, his breath shallow. "What happens if I say no?" he asked. "You die," she said simply. "And if I say yes?" "You live," she replied. Then after a pause, "Differently." Connor closed his eyes for a moment. The universe had always been cruel, but this felt almost personal. "You know," he murmured, "back in basic training, they told us never to accept drinks from strangers." Her lips twitched again. "This is not a drink." "Good," he said. "I was worried about the aftertaste." He opened his eyes and met her gaze. "Do it." There was no triumph in her expression, only resolve. "You understand," she said quietly, "that this cannot be undone." Connor smiled weakly. "Lady, at this point, neither can I." She placed a hand beneath his neck, cool fingers, steady and precise. Up close, he could see faint lines of bioluminescent circuitry pulsing beneath her skin, responding to something within her. Her other hand brushed his shoulder, anchoring him. "This will hurt," she said. "Story of my life." Her mouth lowered to his neck. For a split second, Connor felt nothing. Then pain unlike anything he had known tore through him, sharp and consuming, followed by heat, flooding his veins, rewriting him from the inside out. He screamed, or thought he did, as the battlefield vanished into white. The last thing he registered before darkness claimed him was her voice, steady and unshaken. "Live," she told him. Connor woke up convinced of three things. First, he was definitely not dead. Second, someone had installed a very aggressive spotlight inside his skull. Third, if this was an afterlife, it had a terrible interior designer. He groaned and immediately regretted it. The sound echoed too loudly, bouncing off smooth surfaces with mocking clarity. He squeezed his eyes shut, then opened them again more carefully, as if the room might take offense if startled. White. Not hospital white, but a softer shade, threaded with faint lines of light that pulsed like slow veins beneath the walls. The ceiling curved gently overhead, seamless, as if the room had been grown rather than built. The air smelled clean, metallic, and faintly, disturbingly, sweet. Connor lifted his right hand. It moved. He stared at it. He lifted the left. It moved too. "Oh," he whispered, "that's new." Very slowly, he performed a full inventory. Fingers, present, legs, responding, chest, rising and falling without sounding like a malfunctioning engine. He pressed a hand against his sternum, expecting pain, scars, something. The skin was smooth, unbroken. Connor lay there, blinking. "I'm either alive," he muttered, "or this is a very convincing lie." "You are alive," a voice said from nearby, "and you are awake earlier than expected." Connor yelped, flailing just enough to tangle himself in whatever surface he was lying on. It responded by tightening slightly, adjusting to support him. Helpful. Rude, but helpful. Lady Veyna stood a few steps away, hands folded behind her back. In better lighting, she looked even more unreal. Her long ears angled slightly back, hair falling in dark sheets over her shoulders. The faint circuitry beneath her skin glowed softly, like distant stars trapped under ice. "You could announce yourself," Connor said weakly. "Knock, jingle ominously." "This chamber does not have doors," she replied, "and screaming would have increased your heart rate." He froze. "My heart rate?" She nodded. "It was elevated." Connor swallowed. Is that bad?" "No," she said, "but entertaining." He stared at her, then at his hands again. Okay. Last thing I remember, I was dying very enthusiastically. You bit me. Everything hurt. Then nothing." "That is correct. And now I feel," he searched for the word, "great. Alarmingly great." She inclined her head. "The venom has completed its primary restructuring." Connor sat up. The surface beneath him shifted smoothly, becoming firmer. Restructuring, he repeated. You say that like I was furniture. You were broken furniture, Veyna said calmly. Now you are functional? He laughed, short and sharp. I get bitten by a vampire alien and wake up refurbished. You are not refurbished, she said. You are remade. That's worse. He swung his legs over the side and stood. The room seemed to tilt, not because it moved, but because his perception did. He could hear things, subtle things, a low hum in the walls, a distant rhythmic sound he realized, with some discomfort, was not machinery. It was her heartbeat. Connor stiffened. Okay, he said slowly. Either I'm hallucinating again, or I can hear you, internally. Veyna watched him closely. Your senses have expanded. They will be overwhelming at first. At first, he echoed. Love that phrase. A sudden wave hit him, heat curling low in his abdomen, sharp and insistent. His mouth went dry. No, dry wasn't right. Empty. Hollow. He frowned. I'm hungry. Yes. Like? He paused. Very hungry. Yes. For something specific. Yes. Connor looked at her. She looked back. The silence stretched. Oh, he said quietly. Oh no. You are Sanguir now, Veyna said. Your body will request what it requires. Blood, Connor said. Yes. He laughed again, this time a little hysterically. Of course it's blood. Why wouldn't it be blood? You are reacting with humor, she observed. It's a coping mechanism, he said. Very popular among the recently undead. You are not undead. Good, he said. I was worried about paperwork. The hunger sharpened, no longer abstract. His gaze flicked to her throat before he could stop it. He recoiled instantly, horrified. I didn't mean, I know, Veyna said. She stepped closer, deliberately. Control is learned. Instinct arrives first. Please tell me there's a vending machine option, Connor said, backing up. Synthetic substitute? Nutrient bar? Tomato juice? Tomatoes will not help you, she replied. He slumped against the wall. Figures. She extended her wrist and produced a small device from a fold in her sleeve. It hummed, projecting a thin field of light. This will sustain you temporarily. The device pierced her skin without blood, drawing a measured amount into a crystal vial that sealed itself. She handed it to him. Connor stared. You plan for this? Yes. Do you plan for everything? Most mistakes, she said, I have made before. That landed heavier than expected. He took the vial, hands trembling. The hunger surged in response, eager and sharp. This feels wrong, he said softly. It feels necessary, Veyna corrected. Connor hesitated, then drank. The effect was immediate. Warmth spreading through him, clarity snapping into place like a lock turning. He exhaled shakily. Okay, that's... wow. Yes. He handed the empty vial back. I hate how much I like that. You will, she said, and then you will learn to live with it. Connor sank back onto the adaptive surface, rubbing his face. So, vampire alien, blood dependency, enhanced senses, light sensitivity. And a bond to me, Veyna added. He looked up. Right. You mentioned that. How strong is that bond? She met his gaze, unblinking. Permanent. Connor laughed weakly. I've had shorter marriages. Her eyebrow twitched. Connor discovered the problem with being newly remade was not the hunger, or the senses, or even the unsettling realization that walls now sounded like they were breathing. The real problem was time. Specifically, too much of it spent thinking. Veyna led him through corridors that curved in impossible geometries, hallways that subtly reoriented gravity, so his balance had to renegotiate every few steps. The structure felt grown rather than constructed, metallic surfaces flowing into translucent panels that displayed drifting symbols and slow-moving data. Connor walked barefoot, wearing clothing that had appeared at some point without his consent. It fit perfectly, which somehow made it worse. You people ever build anything straight? He asked. No, Veyna said. Straight lines encourage haste. Connor squinted at a corridor that gently twisted upward like a lazy spiral. I knew it. Architecture as a personality flaw. She ignored him with practiced ease. The hunger pulsed beneath his ribs, quieter now, but never gone. It reminded him of itself with polite insistence, like a calendar notification that refused to be dismissed. He kept catching scents, metal, ozone, unfamiliar spices, and beneath it all, blood. Not spilled, not violent, contained, regulated. That distinction mattered more than he expected. They entered a chamber larger than the battlefield where he had nearly died. Platforms floated at varying heights, each occupied by Sanguir, engaged in activities Connor lacked context for. Some meditated, some trained with weapons that hummed softly, blades of contained energy folding in and out of existence. Others simply watched him. Connor straightened reflexively. "Do I have something on my face?" "You are new," Veyna said, "and human-born." "Formerly," he muttered. A tall Sanguir stepped forward, ears longer than Veyna's, skin darker, eyes like polished obsidian. He studied Connor with open curiosity. "This is the one?" "Yes," Veyna replied. "He is under my protection." Connor waved weakly. "Hi. Sorry about the bleeding everywhere earlier." The Sanguir blinked, then smiled. "He jokes." "He does that," Veyna said. The Sanguir inclined his head. "You chose the bite freely?" Connor hesitated. Images flashed. Burning sky, broken armor, the quiet certainty of death. "Define freely," he said. "But yes, I chose." "Good," the Sanguir said. "Choice matters." He stepped back, interest already fading. Connor exhaled. "See?" Connor said to Veyna. "Not everyone hates me yet." "They will," she replied. "You have not spoken much." Training began immediately. Not physical at first. Mental restraint, focus exercises designed to prevent instinct from seizing control. Connor was instructed to sit, breathe, and not think about blood. This went poorly. "No," Veyna said calmly, circling him. "You are anticipating hunger. Acknowledge it, then set it aside." "It's very hard to ignore," Connor said through clenched teeth. "It's like telling a fire not to be hot. Fire can be contained. I am not a fireplace." "You are worse," she said. "You can walk." The exercises escalated. Controlled exposure to light filtered through adaptive panels that shimmered as his skin reacted. Movement drills where his body responded faster than his mind approved. Once he reached across the room without remembering how he moved. He stared at his hands. "I teleported." "You stepped," Veyna corrected. "Quickly." "That was quickly?" Connor asked. "Because from my perspective, physics just gave up. It will do that around you now." During a break, Connor slumped against a pillar that pulsed faintly. "I miss being normal." Veyna considered him. "Normal is inefficient. Normal is comfortable." She nodded once. "Comfort is not survival," he sighed. "You're very good at motivational speeches that make me want to lie down." Later, during weapons orientation, Connor accidentally shattered a reinforced training surface by gripping it too tightly. The room fell silent. Connor stared at the fragments. "In my defense, it started it." Veyna pinched the bridge of her nose. "You must moderate your strength." "I was moderating." That was enthusiasm. He was escorted, politely but firmly, on an apology circuit. Connor apologized to an instructor whose platform he dented, another whose focus he disrupted, and one who merely accepted the apology with the air of someone collecting a debt for later. By the end, Connor was exhausted in a way sleep could not fix. That night, if night applied in a place where time obeyed different rules, he sat alone, staring at a translucent panel that reflected his face. He looked the same, too much the same. But his eyes caught the light differently now, depth layered beneath familiarity. Veyna joined him without sound. "You are quieter." "I'm thinking." "Dangerous," she said. He smiled faintly. "You didn't have to save me." "Yes," she replied, "I did." He looked at her. "Why?" Silence stretched, not uncomfortable, waited. "Because I was there," she said finally, "and because I have learned what happens when I do not offer." Connor nodded slowly. "Well, congratulations. You saved a professional liability." Her lips curved, barely. "You will adapt. And if I don't?" "Then I will help you," she said simply. Connor leaned back, staring at a ceiling that displayed distant stars not matching any chart he knew. The universe felt bigger now, stranger, less forgiving, but not empty. Okay, he said softly. Let's say I survive this. Veyna tilted her head. You will, he chuckled. I meant mentally. That earned him a real smile. Connor learned two important facts on what he privately labeled Day 3 of not being human anymore. First, Sanguir society had an alarming amount of etiquette. Second, he was exceptionally bad at it. The chamber they entered was vast and dim, lit by layered fields of soft amber light that hovered like patient suns. Tall figures moved with deliberate grace across elevated walkways, their long ears adorned with thin metallic bands, fabric trailing behind them like controlled shadows. The air carried a low harmonic hum that vibrated in Connor's chest, soothing and unsettling at the same time. This is a council hall, Veyna said quietly. Do not speak unless addressed. Connor nodded. I can do quiet. I once hid from a drill sergeant inside a supply crate for 6 hours. That is not reassuring. They stepped forward. The floor recognized Veyna immediately, light blooming beneath her feet. Connor followed and the light hesitated, then flared brighter, rippling outward. Every head turned. Connor froze. I broke it. You announced yourself, Veyna murmured, unintentionally. A Sanguir seated at the center rose. Ancient, Connor decided, not by appearance. His face was smooth, eyes sharp, but by presence. He looked like time had learned manners around him. This is the human-born, the elder said. It was not a question. Connor cleared his throat. Formerly, several ears twitched. Connor filed that away as a reaction indicator. He was bitten by my choice, Veyna said. He lives under my responsibility. The elder studied Connor for a long moment. Connor resisted the urge to salute. Barely. Do you regret the choice? The elder asked him. Connor thought of the battlefield, the certainty of ending, the quiet. No, he said. I regret the part where I almost died. The rest is pending review. A low murmur passed through the hall. Not laughter, but something adjacent. You speak lightly, the elder observed. I speak honestly, Connor replied. If I stop joking, I panic. If I panic, I cause property damage. I've been told that's frowned upon. That did it. A ripple of amusement, subtle but unmistakable. The elder inclined his head. He will be disruptive. Yes, Veyna agreed. And alive, the elder added. That carries weight. The council dismissed them shortly after, apparently deciding Connor was more a long-term concern than an immediate threat. As they exited, Connor exhaled loudly. Well, he said, that went better than expected. No one tried to incinerate me. Your expectations are low, Veyna said. Experience-based. They moved deeper into the structure, passing through living quarters where Sanguir went about their cycles. Connor noticed how carefully blood distribution was managed. Sealed vessels, coded access, ritualized consumption. Nothing feral, nothing careless. This isn't what I imagined, Connor said quietly. What did you imagine? Capes, he said. Dungeons. A lot more screaming. Veyna glanced at him. We prefer order. Yeah, Connor said. I'm starting to see that. Later, hunger struck harder than usual. Sharp, sudden, demanding. Connor doubled over, gripping the edge of a console as his vision narrowed. Veyna was at his side instantly. You waited too long. I was trying to be polite, he gasped. Didn't want to interrupt the culture tour. She guided him into a private alcove, activating shielding fields. You must not delay, she said firmly. This is not weakness. It is maintenance. I hate that you're right, he muttered. She prepared another measured vial, hands steady. As he drank, relief washed through him. But so did something else. Connection, awareness. For a moment he felt her focus, her concern, sharp and unmistakable. Connor blinked. Did you feel that? Yes, she said softly. The bond strengthens as you stabilize. Great, he said weakly. I always wanted a psychic warranty. She allowed a small smile. You are adjusting. They sat in silence for a while. Not awkward, just quiet. You know, Connor said eventually, back home monsters were simple. You pointed at them, shot them, felt justified. And now? Veyna asked. Now I'm the monster, he said, and everyone's being reasonable about it. You are not a monster, she replied. You are altered. Semantics, he said, then after a pause, but appreciated. As they rose to leave, Connor caught his reflection in a darkened panel. Same face, different stillness behind the eyes. The universe hadn't ended him. It had rerouted him. And for the first time since the bite, that thought didn't terrify him. Connor's fifth major realization arrived midair, upside down, while hurtling toward a floor that looked expensive. This was, he decided, not an ideal position for philosophical growth. His body reacted before panic could finish clearing its throat. Muscles tightened, space folded oddly around him, and he landed in a crouch that would have impressed his old combat instructor and deeply offended physics. The impact barely registered. The floor hummed in complaint but did not break. Connor straightened slowly, heart racing, then looked at his hands. Okay, he said aloud to no one in particular. That was absolutely not in the manual. Across the training chamber, Veyna stood with her arms folded, expression unreadable. Around them, several Sanguir instructors pretended very hard not to stare. You anticipated the fall, Veyna said. Good. I did not, Connor replied. My legs staged a coup. That will happen, one of the instructors said, voice smooth and unhelpful. Your body is learning faster than your mind. Connor turned. Can you tell it to slow down? I'd like to be consulted. The instructor's lips twitched. No. Training had escalated. Subtly at first, then not subtly at all. Where earlier sessions focused on control and restraint, this phase introduced stress, motion fields that altered gravity in shifting waves, holographic environments designed to overload his senses, simulated threats that existed just enough to be convincing. Connor's soldier instincts kept firing, clashing with Sanguir philosophy like incompatible software. You hesitate, Veyna said during one session, as Connor stood frozen between three shifting light constructs. I'm choosing not to overreact, he said. You are waiting to be told who the enemy is. Connor frowned. Isn't that reasonable? Not here. One of the constructs lunged. Connor reacted instinctively, strength surging, and the projection shattered into fragments of light that scattered like startled birds. The force carried him forward, momentum uncontrolled. He slammed into a pillar hard enough to crack it. Silence followed. Connor peeled himself off the surface, mortified. I'm so sorry. That one was an accident. Veyna closed her eyes briefly. That pillar, she said carefully, is older than your species' written history. Oh, Connor said. So antique. He was escorted, again, on an apology circuit. This one was longer. Between sessions, exhaustion crept in. Not physical tiredness exactly, but something deeper. A constant awareness of restraint, of hunger balanced carefully against regulation, of being watched not with suspicion, but expectation. Connor found himself missing things he hadn't expected to. Sunlight on his face, food that didn't stare back metaphorically, the luxury of being ordinary. One cycle, after a particularly brutal training sequence involving compressed vacuum pockets and something Veyna referred to as controlled environmental hostility, Connor collapsed onto a low platform, staring at the ceiling. I think, he said faintly, I've reached the stage where my ancestors are judging me. Veyna sat beside him, not too close, close enough. You are progressing. That's what everyone says right before something goes terribly wrong. She studied him. You are afraid. He laughed quietly. Yeah, I am. I was trained for war, not whatever this is. Survival, she said. Long term. He turned his head to look at her. Do you ever miss being what you were? She didn't answer immediately. The pause stretched. Yes, she said finally. Sometimes. That surprised him more than any training anomaly. Later, hunger struck at the worst possible time, during a navigation exercise that required focus and emotional regulation. Connor felt it like a knife sliding between his ribs, sharp and insistent. His vision narrowed, the room's hum sharpening into something louder, closer. He stopped moving. Veyna noticed instantly. Connor, I've got it, he said, though his voice betrayed him. Just need a second. That is not control, she said, rising. That is denial. He laughed weakly. You're really good at calling me out. She guided him away, voice firm, movements practiced. You cannot treat this as a weakness. It will punish you for it. As he drank the measured supply, relief flooded him. But so did frustration. He slammed the empty vial down harder than necessary. I hate this, he said. I hate needing it. I hate that my body decides things without asking me. Veyna met his gaze steadily. You hate loss of autonomy. Yes. You did not lose it, she said. You exchanged it. Survival always costs something. He ran a hand through his hair. You make it sound so reasonable. It is, she replied. That does not make it easy. That night Connor dreamed, not of the battlefield, but of standing between worlds. Human stars behind him, unfamiliar constellations ahead. He woke with a sense of weight, not hunger this time, but responsibility. The next session he moved differently, slower, more deliberate. When a construct attacked, he redirected instead of destroying it. When gravity shifted, he adjusted rather than fought. The instructors noticed. Veyna noticed. Afterwards, she approached him. You are learning. Connor wiped sweat from his brow. Don't sound so surprised. I am not surprised, she said. I am relieved. He smiled tiredly. Careful. That almost sounded like pride. Her eyes softened. Just slightly. For the first time since waking as something else, Connor felt less like a problem to be managed and more like a person being shaped. The fear didn't vanish, but it stopped being the loudest thing in his head. And that, he realized, might be how survival really began. Connor realized something had shifted the moment Veyna stopped standing behind him during training. Not dramatically. No announcement. She simply moved to his side, sometimes even a step ahead, trusting him to follow without correction. It unsettled him more than when she had watched his every move like a very patient executioner. They stood on a platform suspended in open space, the chamber walls drawn back to reveal a star field that rotated slowly, deliberately, as if being shown off. Artificial gravity held them gently in place. Below, layers of translucent walkways carried other Sanguir, going about their cycles, their movements precise, unhurried. Today, Veyna said, you will act without instruction. Connor blinked. That sounds suspiciously like a test. It is. I don't like surprise tests. You survived war, she replied. This is quieter. That does not make it less stressful. The platform shifted. Without warning, the star field fractured, breaking into overlapping projections. Alarms did not sound. Instead, the environment reconfigured itself into a simulation Connor recognized too well. Corridors, bulkheads, low-gravity pockets. A ship. Damaged. Failing. His breath caught before he could stop it. You are sensing memory, Veyna said calmly. Do not retreat from it. I'm not, he muttered. I'm just visiting. A shockwave rippled through the simulated hull. Connor moved automatically, stabilizing himself, scanning for threats that were not there. His senses flooded with data, structural strain, energy leaks, life signatures. He filtered them, not by force this time, but by priority. He acted, redirected power, sealed breaches, guided imaginary survivors toward imaginary safety. His movements were fast but controlled, instincts sharpened by something new. Not hunger, not fear, but clarity. When the simulation dissolved, Connor found himself breathing hard, hands steady. Veyna studied him. You did not overextend. Connor frowned. Was I supposed to? You would have, before. He considered that. Huh. They walked afterward, not to a training chamber, but through a residential sector. The lighting here was warmer, softer. Sanguir gathered in small groups, conversing quietly. Some nodded to Veyna. A few glanced at Connor with curiosity, no longer edged with caution. I think, Connor said slowly, they're getting used to me. They are, Veyna replied. You are no longer an anomaly. Great, he said. I've been promoted to local oddity. That is progress. They stopped at a balcony overlooking a vast interior garden. Bioluminescent flora, drifting in controlled air currents, engineered ecosystems humming with life. Connor leaned on the railing. "You could have let me die," he said casually, too casually. Veyna's gaze remained forward. "Yes, and now I'm this." He gestured vaguely at himself, "which is still under review." "You are Sanguir," she said, "and you are Connor. Nice of you to remember." She turned to face him. "You are not a burden." He laughed. "You don't have to say that." "I do," she said, "because you believe it." That quieted him. Later, during a rest cycle, Connor found himself in a communal nourishment chamber. Rows of sealed vessels lined the walls, each coated and regulated. He approached one, hesitated, then selected a measured supply without prompting. Progress, he thought. As he drank, he felt the familiar warmth, but this time no shame followed. Just balance. A Sanguir nearby glanced over. "You choose carefully." "I've broken enough things," Connor said, trying to branch out. The Sanguir smiled faintly. "You will fit." Connor winced. "Let's not rush to labels." That night, again the term felt approximate, Connor and Veyna stood beneath a projection of ancient star maps. Lines traced migrations, wars, treaties, a history written in survival. "You are bound to me," Veyna said quietly. "That bond is not ownership. It is responsibility." Connor nodded. "I know." "Do you resent it?" he thought. Of hunger, of loss, of the quiet moments where fear still whispered. Then of the way she never left him alone with it. "No," he said. "I resent that you're usually right." She almost laughed. They sparred later. Not combat, but movement. Controlled exchanges of momentum and perception. Connor misstepped once, caught himself, and grinned. "Did you see that?" "I did. I didn't break anything. Yet." He hesitated, then added, "You ever think about what happens when I'm done adapting?" "Yes." "And?" "You will choose what comes next," she said. "That is the point." Connor exhaled, something in his chest loosening. "You know, for an alien vampire society, you're very big on consent. It is the only thing that makes immortality bearable." He laughed softly. "I should get that on a poster." As they stood together, watching stars that were no longer unfamiliar, Connor realized the fear hadn't vanished. It had simply been joined by something stronger, belonging, and that somehow scared him less than being alone ever had. Connor used to believe endings arrived with explosions, heroic last stands, or at the very least a dramatic speech delivered while bleeding artistically. What he learned instead was that endings often came quietly, while you were standing somewhere you hadn't expected to belong, watching a star rise where no sun had ever existed. The observation platform extended into open space, held in place by layered gravity fields that hummed softly underfoot. Beyond it, a binary system rotated in slow, elegant balance, light bending along invisible curves. Connor leaned against the railing, hands resting easily. No tremor, no strain. That alone felt like an achievement worth applauding. "You're staring again," Veyna said beside him. "I'm appreciating," he corrected. "There's a difference. Staring is rude. Appreciating is cultured. Your definitions evolve conveniently." "Survival skill," he said. "Adaptation." She regarded him, ears angled slightly forward. A gesture he'd learned meant attention rather than judgment. "You no longer smell of panic," she said. Connor blinked. "I did." "Yes." "Oh," he smiled. "Good. I was worried that was permanent." Below them, Sanguir moved through layered walkways, their routines steady, unhurried. Connor recognized some now. He knew who tolerated him, who respected him, and who quietly bet on how long it would take before he broke something important again. It had been longer than expected. That too mattered. "You're leaving the sanctuary perimeter tomorrow," Veyna said. Connor nodded. "First official assignment. No supervision, no safety net. You will have support. But not you hovering 6 steps away, judging my posture." She allowed a small smile. "I will miss correcting you. I'll trip over something in your honor." They stood in companionable silence for a moment. Connor felt the bond between them. Not intrusive, not heavy, just present. A steady current rather than a chain. Once it had terrified him. Now it felt like orientation, like knowing which way was down. I used to think my life ended on that battlefield, he said quietly. Yes, Veyna replied. And then it restarted, he continued. Different rules, worse diet. You have complained extensively. I am consistent. He glanced at her. But I'm not angry anymore. She studied his profile. That is growth. Don't sound so proud, he said. I might start charging you mentor fees. A soft chime echoed through the platform. A summons. Connor straightened reflexively, then relaxed when nothing exploded. Guess that's me, he said. Time to go be responsible. You already are, Veyna said. He hesitated, then turned to face her fully. You know, you didn't just save my life. She tilted her head. You remind me often. You gave me a reason to stop mourning the old one, he said. That's different. For a moment, the hum of the station seemed to quiet, as if listening. You honored the choice, she said at last. That is all I asked. Connor grinned. Well, that and not setting the place on fire. Yes, she agreed. That too. They walked back through corridors that no longer twisted disorientingly for him. The architecture made sense now, not because it had changed, but because he had. The council chamber doors opened at his approach without hesitation. The light recognized him. Inside, the elders waited, not to judge, not to decide his fate. That had already been done. By him. You will act as liaison, the elder said, between your former people and ours. Connor nodded. I've been worse things. You carry two histories, the elder continued. You may build something new from them. Connor considered that. The soldier he had been. The Sanguir he had become. The bridge between. Okay, he said. But if anyone asks me to wear a ceremonial cloak, I'm negotiating. A ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. Later, as his transport prepared to depart, Connor paused at the threshold. Veyna stood nearby, watching with that composed stillness that no longer felt distant. So, he said, this is the part where we pretend this isn't goodbye. It is not, she replied. You are bound to me. Romantic, he said, in a very existential way. She stepped closer. You will return. I will, he said without hesitation. He entered the transport. The doors sealed. As the vessel lifted smoothly away, Connor watched the station recede into the stars. He did not feel like he was leaving home. He felt like he was carrying it with him. Once he had been a dying soldier counting seconds. Now he was something else entirely. Chosen, altered, responsible. Still sarcastic. Still human in the ways that mattered. Still learning. The universe had not ended him. It had rewritten him. And this time, Connor was ready for what came next.